I wanted to take this opportunity before I call it a night to speak about a personal experience that I think illustrates perseverance and illustrates what it really means to, work through adversity. So, although it may not seem like it, my life is very comfortable. I have been in tech for about 4 years now, working as a software engineer. I've worked at various companies. I, have built some financial security, and I am in a much better place at, 29, almost 30 than I was when I was, 24, 25 years old. And I distinctly remember one event, one day, early in my journey, transitioning from graduate school to, software engineering, which is what I do now. So I should probably take a step back, though, to really provide some context to this story. And I'll make another video about my full transition from graduate school to tech, because it's a story I've probably told it 100 times, and I think it's important. But just to give a little bit of that here, basically I did not enjoy my time in grad school. I found out pretty early on that it was not for me, and that I needed to make a pivot. So, I did what any reasonable student would do. I went to the, career counseling services. I met with various counselors, and they do the whole spiel where they don't really help you. They just sort of convey professionalism throughout the meeting. Oh, this is how you follow up. This is how you might send an email to get in contact with someone. This is how you conduct yourself in a professional manner. And I really do think that in a lot of ways, they're just sort of modeling professionalism for students who may not have had experience with that. Anyway, I'm at UCLA, and I'm in my second year, and career fairs are happening, right? If you go to any large university, then companies, they will come, they will recruit on these college campuses, usually in an auditorium or somewhere, and it'll be like a career fair, and different companies will have booths, and it'll be laid out, and there'll be maybe even a map showing you where different companies are, and then students will line up with their resumes, and there'll be company representatives, and you'll chit chat for a minute, see if the vibes are feeling okay, trying to sort of leave an impression, trying to sell yourself in a compressed time frame. And it's really sort of like a feeding frenzy, right? Because there's only so many jobs, and there's always going to be a couple heavy hitters like Google or Microsoft. This was before AI really became what it is today, so we didn't have Anthropic or OpenAI, but the big tech companies at the time, your Apples, were there. And so here I go on this particular career fair with my little resume, which has exactly 0 professional experience. And I'm dressed up in my little blazer and my loafers, trying to look professional and everything. And I'm going to the career fair because I'm gonna change my life and become a software engineer and do the damn thing. And I'm feeling confident. I've taken a couple of intro computer science courses. I think at that point I'd taken data structures and algorithms, maybe a networking course. So I wasn't completely oblivious to programming and computer science generally. But it was my first real experience sort of putting myself in a hyper competitive, hyper, visual environment where, it's clear there's only a set number of resources, set number of openings, and there are kids literally lining up and everyone's like selling themselves. And like, I'm not gonna lie, as like a 24, 25-year-old graduate student, seeing these 19, 20, 20-year-old students like run around with like the resumes they've got, they're just so confident, full of life and energy and intensity and intentionality, and they've got the resumes and experience to back it. You know, some of them had already TA'd for courses, some of them had internships on their resumes. They were like gunning for these positions, and I just remember feeling like very overwhelmed by all of it a little bit. And yeah, I mean, I gave like a good showing. I would go up to like a booth, and I remember one experience particularly was like I don't even know how to describe it, but essentially I came up, I was chit-chatting with some company. I don't remember the name, I don't remember the people, but I'm chit-chatting and I feel like I'm making a really good impression. We're talking, we're going back and forth. Like, I had been to several other tables at that point, and you know, I had sort of warmed up conversationally, right? My throat was warmed up, my tongue was warmed up, and we're going back and forth, and he's like, oh, do you mind if we like ask you a question right now? And I'm like, sure. So he gives me like this question, like a coding question, which he wanted me to like solve like with a pen and paper, like right there in the career fair. This is like an auditorium, it's loud, there are people everywhere. And I gave like a good attempt at this problem. I think it was like finding like the roots of, finding like all the factors or the roots of some large number, right? And there was probably some optimization regarding like, I don't know, there's probably some like optimization that made it like really clean. I think I gave like a brute force solution, just writing it out in paper. And he was like, he sort of critiqued it and then like went on, like wished me luck. And I just remember feeling so like, I don't know, kind of like condescended to, a little humiliated. Like, I don't see anyone else answering these sorts of questions. Everyone just seems to be like going through the motions, and here you've tried to put me through like a LEET code grind for like no reason, like absolutely no reason. And then there's like another experience where there was some other company, again, I don't remember the name, a lesson right there, right? Not important. And we were talking, and you know, at the time I was still very dead set on being a software engineer, but they were trying to like gear me towards being like a implementation engineer. And they were just sort of like subtly coaxing me like, oh, we have this position, which is like not quite a software engineer, but you know, I really feel like you might be a really good fit for this. It's more like customer focused and so on and so forth. And again, it was just like frustrating to like have that experience, to be told like no, and in such like a visible and like blunt way. And I remember like at some point in all of this, I just got like very overwhelmed, and I remember going to the bathroom, and I was in the bathroom and I was just like telling myself, okay, Chris, like get it together. Like, this is what it is. You have to go through this process. It's like good to go through this process. Like really giving myself a pep talk in the urinal or the stall, wherever I was. And man, I did not want to go back to the career fair. Like again, because like it is painful dealing with your deficiencies. It's painful coming to terms with the negative consequences of your decisions or indecisions, right? And it's painful to see, like, it's painful to recognize that you're not where you want to be. Like even the first time I took a computer science course at UCLA, I walked into, I forget which hall it was, but it was like one of those big lecture halls with like 300 seats. And I walked in one day and it was, or like the first day, not one day, the first day I walked in, it was packed full of freshmen and sophomores, so packed in fact that I couldn't even get a seat. I had to sit on like one of the staircases, I guess. Yeah, so it was like, and it's just like one of those moments where it's like, damn, the world moves really fast. Like the world is not playing around, it's not waiting. You're gonna have to like get off your ass and get to it. And it takes both courage and humility to go through experiences like that, to be able to say, I'm not where I want to be, but I'm willing to put in the work to get to where I want to be. And I think where a lot of people go wrong is that they just sort of, they don't do the difficult work of self-reflection and introspection and reflection, and they don't hold themselves accountable and responsible. Especially now with so much noise, it's so easy to blame a host of external factors. It's the government, it's politicians, it's the Federal Reserve, it's the economy, it's these employers and these corporations. But more often than not, like, it's you know? Like, obviously we're all impacted by those broader factors, but the single most important determinant of outcomes in your life is you. And that's difficult. It's really difficult for a lot of people to come to terms with. And so yeah, I was sort of like coming to terms with the fact that I hadn't really like lived up to my own ideals as an undergraduate, and was sort of trying to navigate my way out of a graduate program that didn't align with my long-term values or goals. And yeah, obviously not everyone will be fortunate enough to be admitted to a fully funded PhD program and then decide later on that, hey, this is not what I want, and then be in a position to actually pivot successfully. But I think wherever you are in life, wherever you are in life, you have to recognize that your present circumstances are really the result of the compounding consequences of the decisions that you have made. And you can't shy away from that. And the more you're willing to meet that like head on in the face, the more you're willing to face the person in the mirror, the more you're willing to practice radical candor with yourself, the more you'll grow. And eventually you will grow through the discomfort. You'll face the embarrassing things, you'll deal with your deficits, and you can live like the life you want to live. And I know it sounds like cliche, but that's kind of what it comes down to. Like, there will be moments where you have to decide if you're going to keep going, or if you're just going to accept, if you're going to be resigned to a life that is beneath your highest ideals. And so anyway, I did go back to the career fair. I went back, I continued to, push my resume. I didn't get any job offers, obviously, no internships, obviously. I wasn't qualified. I had taken a few computer science courses, I had no internship experience. Who was gonna hire me? But it helped. It helped build resolve, character, an understanding of what the job market is like. And now I look back on that experience, and I'm amazed that I can look back on that experience, right? Let's say I had decided not to continue, right, with the pivot because it was too risky, because I had already secured, a fully funded PhD program, and it was the path of least resistance. and I wouldn't have to deal with any insecurity or uncertainty. If I had stayed and I had not returned to the career fair, I had just gone back and, finished my PhD work, I might still be in the program now. I could very well be 30 years old, an adjunct professor, right? Or maybe even just an all but thesis graduate student. And I'd never be even sharing this great story now. It would have just been some blimp on my narrative. Oh yeah, that one time I went to some career fairs, really didn't work out. They just wanted too much. They want too much from you. They asking you to code and shit. That's way too much. I'm not trying to do all that. Damn, you shouldn't have to do that much to get a job. But then how much should you have to do, you never know what's required. It might require all of you, right? It's only when you are bringing your full self that you can grow. And so yeah, I went back, and now 4-5 years removed from that situation, people hit me up on LinkedIn consistently with job offers, with various things, opportunities, and I'm now in a position to say, I don't know. Why? I don't know. No, I'm not really interested in your rapid collaboration, fast-moving, in-person culture, right? I'm not interested in ownership and wearing many hats for your AI startup with no funding. And it's a different perspective. And in order to get to this perspective, for me, I've had to put in the work over the course of years. And it doesn't feel like it's been years. It feels like it's gone by very quickly and smoothly. And I think that's because I acted and continue to act with a lot of intentionality and discipline. And things just continue to click and fall into place. And so I don't say that to brag, obviously. I say that because it is proof of the principles I'm trying to convey, which is that you have to act with discipline and intentionality. You have to face moments of challenge and grow through them. And you have to be prepared for discomfort, uncertainty, and you have to be prepared to be humble at times, to acknowledge your shortcomings and your deficits, to accept constructive feedback, because it's the only way you're going to grow and get better. And you'll be able to look back on those experiences, those conversations, and you'll be like, damn, I'm happy I went through that, because it will set you up for so much more. So yeah, I guess that's all I wanted to talk about tonight. Career fairs can be scary, but it's just one part of the journey, one part of the story you're telling, you're writing, one part of the story you're writing with your actions. And so don't be afraid to face those moments, because those are the moments where you'll grow and become the person you want to be. So hope you enjoyed that. If so, like, share, comment, subscribe, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace.